Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and the socialists. This is a very big night, as all nights are big, but this is huge, huge, I tell you. So glad to have my lovely bride with me tonight, Mrs. Biggs. Give the handoff. There you go, baby. Love you. Give you the all-important handoff of the water bottle. If only Ruby over here. Mrs. Biggs is watching via Ustream or live stream. In the chat room tonight, the lovely, the beautiful Mary Brockman, who we love so much. Truly love you for being here tonight. Mary Brockman is my bouncer. If you diss her, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. Big night, yes. SHR night. SHR night. Yeah, Sackheads Radio night with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint. They come on at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific. Oh, they are hilarious. They are absolutely hilarious. Thank you. I like the olive shirt too. Thank you very much, Mary. Dave Miller has joined us, Mr. Ag, also better known as the Unpleasant Blind Guy. So we have SHR night, but we also have two big stars coming up. Big star from Baltimore, yeah, Shannon Wright. She takes center stage. She'll be talking about alcohol. Who rules the alcohol? Is it in Baltimore? Is it the restaurants or is it the community pubs? Big talk on that one. And at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, none other than my very good friend, Ralph Chittum Sr. I was getting ready to say doctor, but I can't. I gotta stop saying doctor. Ralph Chittum Sr. will be joining us. We'll be talking about the state of the state address. We're a district, but people have big dreams. The state of the state address by Mayor Muriel Bowser. You know what we do at this particular hour of the night. Is that better? Lowering the volume. There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what we do at this hour tonight. We find our right hand, we find a flag. Look at the one behind us. There you go. God's already in it. And we pledge allegiance to the United States of America. I like this too. I like it. It's called Daily Beetle by Kevin MacLeod. I use a lot of Kevin MacLeod stuff at incompetech.com. It's royalty free, and that's where I use it. So give a big old shout out to Kevin MacLeod, thanking him for allowing capitalists like myself to advantage good, clean music without having to pay for the shirt off my back. I tell you that. Thank you, Dave. I tried to dress my best. Actually, my wife dresses me before I come on. If you saw what I really looked like before I came on the air, y'all need to give a lot of praise and hand claps and standing O's to Mrs. Biggs. Because if I really wanted to come on the air the way I want to dress, boy, I'd be taken off. And this is internet radio, so you know how badly I dress. Wow. All right, everybody. Let's find that moment where we can put our hand over our heart, our right hand over our heart, and pledge allegiance to the most gracious, most beautiful, and most reverent nation in all of the world, the United States of America. That's what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you tonight to the Exceptional Conservative Show. I want to indulge you You're welcome, Dave. Check it out, man. Check it out. Amen, amen. Thank you, Mary. Let me do this real quick. There is a woman in Washington, D.C. whom I would like to thank. And in Washington, D.C., without a shadow of a doubt, I have to cross the aisle to get things accomplished. Okay? Unlike in other places, I have to cross the aisle. And there is always a liberal ferocity here. There is a sense that no one wants to blame Obama. They don't want to lock people up. They don't want to blame. There's so much of all that stuff. But I want to give you two names. Shanice Milton and Relisha Wright. Neither one of them right now are concerned with whether you are a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. None of them is concerned whether this has been your lifelong mission or whether you just started yesterday. None of them is concerned about the who as much as they are concerned about the what. Professor Charlotte Brookins Hudson, in fact, Charlotte Brookins Hudson, from the Legislative Clinic at David A. Clark Law School at the University of the District of Columbia, which is one of the few urban land grant historically black colleges and universities in the country, extended her hand. She did that 4 weeks ago. Now, I visited a council member's office, and they recommended highly that I try to find someone pro bono to write the legislation, as they would not have time to, as it was a budget year. As much as they were committed to the proposition, they didn't have time. This is budget year. I mean, they're fighting over capping how much is going to be spent by the city on building a facility for Ted Leon's, who's the owner of the Washington Caps and Washington Wizards in Southeast Washington. So they're fighting over budgetary matters, physical issues right now. And so while it is very poignant a concern, it's not the greatest concern right now, and thus the attentions that must be faceted to this must be done by someone else. The city council didn't have the time to write the legislation, and I understood that. And so, in seeking out pro bono assistance, the first order was to contact my alma mater, the University of the District of Columbia. And so I did. And a bit begrudgingly, I had in my conversation with Professor Brookins Hudson, forgive me, Charlotte. I like to call her Charlotte, but I can't. Professor Charlotte. So don't tell her I said Professor Charlotte, okay? It's Professor Charlotte Brookins Hudson of their legislative clinic. And we discussed Black Lives Matter and a few other things, and about mass incarceration and stuff like that. But eventually we settled on one thing. That Relisha Rudd, an 8-year-old girl, should never have been kidnapped and taken from her mother, and now listed on the critical missing person list in Washington, D.C. That should have never happened. Now, the who who's, the what's, the when's, the where's, the why's, all the other things that go along with it, how they happen, and yeah, that's one thing. But the one thing that we could agree on, from her side of the room, from my side of the room, from her side of the aisle, and my side of the aisle, was that little girl did not deserve the treatment that she received in the end that we know right now. Where is she? We don't know. It's been 3 years since the death or kidnapping of Relisha Rudd. But during that time period, there was a deficiency that was noted, a legal one. And there was no law in the books that provoked a parent to report a child missing or even dead. I know in Alabama and in Florida, Kelly's law is severely supported and encouraged. And I believe that it was a law that was missing. In fact, when we were pushing in July of last year for a Judiciary Committee hearing on the violent crime and murders in D.C., which would have been the first in over a year, I asked Miss Rebecca Taylor of the Relisha Rudd advocacy group to speak with me at a press conference. And she brilliantly pointed out the neglect and the deficiency of law. And we agreed from that time forward that we would fight every single day to make certain that the law was put on the books. July went, August went, September came. In late August, we received notice that there would be a judiciary hearing because we had demanded it, as you as a citizen have right to do so. At 11 o'clock at night, the Judiciary Committee did not want me to speak. They took my name off the list. I won't say they took my name. My name just apparently didn't appear on the list all of a sudden. My sister's name, however, was on the list, and she was scheduled to speak. And just as they were about to call her name, she turned to me and said, "Ken, they need to hear you tonight, not me. I'm not going to do it." She asked me to speak. So I spoke. I spoke to the fact that it is a painful thing for a parent not to know where their child is, and it's even more painful not to know who killed their child. That the Relisha Rudd law would have to be passed to protect the innocent children who show up missing, never to be seen again. October passed, November passed, December passed, January was coming. It is the budget year. If you want legislation to be passed, you have to do it during the budget season. Everything else really doesn't matter after that. It's all hyperbole and rhetoric. Well, Relisha Rudd Law Advocacy Group began working to get their law together. And I reached out my hand to Professor Charlotte Brookins Hudson from the University of District of Columbia. You see, I believe in competition, healthy competition. I also believe not to depend on government to write something for you that you can do for yourself. 4 weeks ago, I began working with Professor Charlotte Brookings Hudson. 2 weeks passed away and it was very quiet. And for me, next to finding out who killed my daughter, passing the Relisha law was paramount. Some things you have to avoid in terms of protocol in order to get done. Phone rang last Friday. It was the professor. She had completed the first draft of the legislation that we have been working on for the past 3 weeks. Privately, without much hyperbole, without great rhetoric, getting the job done. No committee hearings. No, what are we going to have for breakfast? Do we get plain donuts or chocolate? None of that stuff. Let's get a law put together. She cobbled that law. She put the first draft before me, and I immediately put that draft before my board, Howie Coleman, and a few other greats. Jeffrey Boyd out in St. Louis, Jill Upson in West Virginia. Howie Coleman responded back to me and gave me some insights. And I went to her and I asked her on Monday, make it happen. And she did. This is coming up on the middle of the school year. She didn't have to, but she did. She has exams to grade. She has papers to read, and kids are coming through in their 3rd year. They need her and her class. She took the time. She sacrificed. On Monday afternoon, it was complete. And from the bottom of my heart, from this side of the aisle, I thank you, Professor. I thank you because you put Relisha Rudd first. You put aside anything, threat of nefarious undertaking, seeking ego, desiring the limelight. You put all that aside. We never went to the press. We never said anything to anybody. We did it in the cover of darkness. When everyone else was seeking to do something in a way that would not have garnered a good end, you trusted me and I trusted you. And you produced, and I appreciate you. I know the Relisha Rudd family appreciates you, and the city of Washington will appreciate you too. Thank you for writing the legislation. This is the legislation right here that was crafted. 4 pages. I don't have time to go through all of it with you tonight. I may do it in the coming weeks. But believe it or not, I received a stand-down order from a different group. I couldn't believe it. You see, I thought, quote unquote, we're all in this together. And unfortunately, some people don't understand how legislation gets crafted. You see, 3 or 4 different people come together with 3 or 4 different pieces of legislation, and then they formalize it under one bill. That bill is then sent to committee for consideration, and amendments and adjustments are made to that particular bill. And so sometimes the bill doesn't even look like what it started with. It's like sausage. And then finally out of committee it gets voted. And then it goes to the actual council itself. on a first hearing, and then a second hearing, and then a third hearing, and sometimes adjustments are made to it. So the original intent doesn't even look like the latter intent. But out of many, one. E pluribus unum. Out of many pieces of legislation, crafting one. I wanted to make certain, and you can only do this. Oh man, I'm giving away a great deal of. If somebody was taping this right now and listening to it, they would actually understand how to bombard the Congress and bombard the council with legislation that gets results. Instead of demanding a law, write it. Instead of complaining that they're not answering to you, force them to answer back. Give them something to work with, not work on. That was my intent. Last night I sent the legislation to two of the council members who had unique interests in it, and this morning I sent it to another who had already begun writing, from what I had been advised, legislation. You see, why not have two pieces of legislation before you so you can see the pros and cons of each and then decide on which are the best pros to use? See, that's how legislation is really crafted. But on Facebook this afternoon, once the word got out, notice the professor and I never went to the media. We never saw the limelight. We sent it directly to the listening channels that need to consider the law so they can go through that process. No one will ever remember Kim McClinton, but if we ever find Relisha Rudd, they will always remember Relisha Rudd. From about 4 o'clock this afternoon to right as I'm on the air now, I have been berated, I have been vilified, I have been ostracized, and I have been called everything but a son of God. And this is by people who support the law. I want you to understand something, and I'm going to tell you something, and I want to play Patton, and then I'm going to come back and we're going to talk about Monroe, and we're going to talk about the doctrine that led Teddy Roosevelt to do what he did at San Juan Hill. We're going to talk about Frederick Douglass because we need Frederick Douglass statesmen in the world today. But I want you also to know something. I told my wife when you eulogized me at my funeral, she doesn't like when I say that because to be honest with you, I know how the order works. The man goes first and then the wife. That's just the way it works. God wants to give wives vacations, so they take the husband first. I told her, when you eulogize me, tell all the world this. When you spoke against me, when you vilified me, when you criticized me, when you said all evil a thing against me, when I did good, I was at peace with that. Because in the end, the truth of the matter is we are in an arena. And all that matters is that we do the most good that we can do with the greatest gifts God has given us so that we may achieve His glory and His end. To the Relisha Rudd Law Advocacy Group, God bless you. I thank you so much for all of your work. And for Rebecca Taylor, for your face being the one lighting the candles of remembrance for Relisha Rudd. But I say this to all. Save your ammo for those who will fight against you in weeks to come. The battle should never be against those that do good. The battle should always be against those who do evil. I'm not your enemy. Time and intolerance and evil are. Go after them with the same muster as you come from me.
Repeat it. I want you to remember that no bastard ever won war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. And then all this stuff you heard about America not wanting to fight, wanting to stay out of the war, was a lot of horse dung. Americans traditionally love to fight. All real Americans love the sting of battle. When you were kids, you all admired the champion marble shooter, fastest runner, big league ball player, toughest boxer. Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. All you get a whoopie hell for a man who lost and laugh. That's why Americans have never lost and will never lose a war. Because the very thought of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for that. I'm going to come back with patent speech. I love it. We'll be back right after this.
Right swipe. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe, right swipe. That kind of looks like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten.
Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait.
On his return, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type and I'm my type, you're good in the classroom. I just left swipe, bow bow. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff, hashtag complexing. Yeah, you worked out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day.
Came across a photo of this green-eyed hottie. Whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. I just couldn't overlook one small fact. She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're my type and I'm not type, you're good in the classroom. I just left swipe, bow bow. I just left swipe.
Left swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Left
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Left swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from tens to twos. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger
Left swipe that.
while you're on a hang glider.
Left swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Left swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy.
Left swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Left swipe that.
At a monster truck race.
Left
I'll never remember you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm gonna walk you through some of the meals that we prepare here. We're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage, and we cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. This is our Thai curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Fish is ready and our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused cheeseburgers. We kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, nice half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flipped the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat just a little bit. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger to spice it up a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know where you need to go. You know what you need to do when you get there. You need to order the biggest bacon burger you possibly can find. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland 20748. 301-449-9000. That's 301-449-9000. Infuse.com. Ladies and gentlemen, get there and get there fast. The food can't wait for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am so glad to be with you tonight on the Exceptional Conservative Show, live from the nation's capital. Thank you, Dave Miller. Dave Miller says, we're with you on this, Ken. You already know, but it's still nice to hear. I really appreciate it, sir, because this is the type of encouragement I'm getting for the work I've done by supporters. This is, I want y'all to understand, this is people that want the law. This is what they're saying to me tonight. Okay? Just want to let you know. Listen, as a conservative, double bacon. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Double bacon. That's what you need. I would love to have a double bacon burger. Really would. Great. Listen, all those who do good, there is no reward for doing good. You just do it. No matter what people say to you, you just do it. Okay.
Remember that no bastard ever won a war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb bastard die for his country. All this stuff you've heard about America not wanting to fight, wanting to stay out of the war, is a lot of horse dung. Americans traditionally love to fight. All real Americans love the sting of battle. The little kids, we all admired the champion marble shooter, the fastest runner, big league ball players, the toughest boxers. Americans love a winner and will not tolerate a loser. Americans play to win all the time. I wouldn't give a hoot in hell for a man who lost and laughed. That's why Americans have never lost and will never lose a war. Because the very thought of losing is hateful to America. Now, the Army is a team. It lives, eats, sleeps, fights as a team. This individuality stuff is a bunch of crap. The biggest bastards who wrote that stuff about individuality for the Saturday Evening Post don't know anything about real battle when they do about fornicating. Now we have the finest food, equipment, the best spirit, and the best men in the world. We know, thank God, I actually pity those poor bastards we're going up against. By God, I do. We're not just going to shoot the bastards. We're going to cut out their living guts and use them to grease the treads of our tanks. We're going to murder those lousy Hun bastards by the bushel. Now, some of you boys, you know, are wondering whether or not you chicken out on the fire. Don't worry about it. And I can assure you that you will all do your duty. The Nazis are the enemy. Raid into them. Spill their blood. Shoot them in the belly. When you put your hand into a bunch of goo that a moment before was your best friend's face, you know what to do. Now, there's one thing I want you to remember. None of you get any messages saying that we are holding our position. We're not holding anything. Let the Hun do that. We are advancing constantly, and we're not interested in holding on to anything except the enemy. We're going to hold on to them by the nose.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I tell you where Ken McClinton is in life? I want to let y'all know, especially for those who are listening to me on the down low and then making your remarks in that private conversation that's going on at Facebook. This is where Ken McClinton is. It ain't about you and your ego. It is about the full objective of winning.
Now, there's one thing I want you to remember. None of you get any messages saying that we are holding our position. We're not holding anything. Let the Hun do that. We are advancing constantly, and we're not interested in holding on to anything except the enemy.
There you are!
We're going to by the nose, and we're going to kick him in the ass. We're going to kick the hell out of him all the time, and we're going to go through him like crap through beef. There's one thing that you men will be able to say when you get back home. And we thank God for it.
Yes.
30 years from now, we are sitting on your fireside with the grandson of me, and he asks you, what did you do in the Great World War II? You won't have to say, well, when I shoveled shit in Louisiana. All right, now you son of bitches, you know how I feel. Good. I would be proud to lead you wonderful guys into battle anytime, anywhere. That's all.
Ladies and gentlemen, for too long in urban America, and I don't even know if we're going to get to James Monroe and Frederick Douglass, but for too long in urban America, those who have held the reins of power have assembled people in a circle. They've opened the gate so that the wolves can come in and take the sheep. They silence the people who are in the circle, who know who the victims are, and they engorge and encourage those in the circle who believe that a government program will be their answer. Sitting on your duff and waiting for the world to change is as fruitless as listening to a man say, I'm sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time. I don't know how many moments I have left on this earth. I don't know how many moments God's given me where I have a voice. I don't know if my hands that were made for battle, my hands for war, my fingers for battle, my hands for war. I don't know if these hands will keep moving. I don't know if I can continually, factually think things through with such analogical preciseness that it puts fear in both friend and foe. I don't know the limitations that God has put upon me, but until I know them, I'm going to use every gift God's given me to achieve the greater good. I want you to understand something. I never took anything you said personally because I never personally took anything in this fight. You see, you've been trained to believe that you have to send a grievance to the government and you have to wait for the government to do something for you. God says, I have given you the gift. I have the government on my shoulders. I tell you what to say. You tell them what to do, and then you make it happen. So I understand the immaturity. Whether you are 25 or 55. You've grown up in a very liberal city where they've taken your right of self-defense from you. Where they've taken your right of free speech from you. Where they have replaced your faith with human rights. I know, and you're always given a promise that tomorrow will be better, so stop asking for today. And then you try to explain to me how after 100 years of the same fruitless activity, we should try another 100 years more. Maybe it'll get better. Maybe if we switch the chairs from one side of the Titanic to the other side, then the boat won't sink. There's a 13-year-old girl in Iowa whose mama hasn't seen her in 30 days. There's a 16-year-old girl in Baltimore whose parents haven't seen her in 3 years. There's a 14-year-old boy in South Carolina who's been missing for 2 years. Do I have to continue on? I'm okay if you call me a snake. I've been called worse. So you're not hurting me, if that was the intent. And I don't mind you getting your feathers ruffled and airing your feelings. You go forfeit. I just want you to know something. Little Shaniqua, who's sitting in her bed right now, will appreciate that you stop fighting amongst yourselves, looking for who's going to be the one giving the press conference. And just remember that making certain that she's in her bed in the morning when she rises is more important. I don't care if you don't trust me anymore. What's important is little Johnny, who's in Chicago right now, who's listening to bullets go hellfire around his head and shoulders and everywhere else, that he's alive tomorrow morning with the hope of a new generation. I don't care what you say about me. God's grafted me such grace that those who used to spit and curse in my face now seek my guidance and counsel. It's not my wisdom, but His. Ladies and gentlemen, the victory is God's. Thank God you are the instrument He uses in battle to achieve His victory. Now, here it is in a nutshell what you owe me. You don't even owe me an apology. You don't owe me anything. You know what matters? What matters is those children that you're fighting for right now will someday thank you for fighting so hard to protect and keep them. Ladies and gentlemen, it pains me to see my people. And when I say my people, I'm not referring to race. I'm talking about the human race. To see my people so emotionally blind that they cannot be any political good. Say what you will about me, and I encourage you, please, complain even more. Let it out. But in the end, there's a little boy and a little girl who will be sleeping in Washington later on this year, who will be safer then than they are now. Call me what you will. And please, be a little bit more crafty and creative than some of the terms that you're using now. I'm getting used to those. Please, I'm not for the sake of the dictionary, please expand. But remember, some child under the age of 13 years old in the District of Columbia will, for the first time, his family and others around him will be able to see his face on a website page 24 hours after he's reported missing. I want you to understand that statistically, if a child is missing for more than 3 hours, it's very unlikely that you will ever find him, or if you do, that he's dead. 80% of them normally show up dead. Amongst your bickering and ammo against me, say what you will. Do what you will. But that little boy and that little girl, they'll be safer. It'll be up to you once you've gotten over your ill will towards me to continue to educate and protect those children. You see, my days upon the earth are few. May the children that we protect, may their days upon the earth be many more than mine. God bless you, those who curse me, for they curse the green tree, so I expect nothing less. In fact, I wear it as a badge of honor. We'll be back right after these messages.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of the Release restaurant, and today I'm going to walk you through some of the meals that we prepared here. So we're making a pizza. We use fresh Italian sausage. Cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and delicious. This is our Thai curry curry chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. And our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused tea burger. We keep the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce. We start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers. We're going to grill it to perfection. After I put the burgers, we add the sauce, and let it cook on it until we get to the We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit.
Order up, everybody. Infused Restaurant is the place to be. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. Infused.com, 301-449-3000. I believe it's 3. Did I say 3,000? Yeah. That's 9,000. Forgive me. 301-449-9000. 301-449-9000. Please call that number so that you can get the best food in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be going live with my very good friend, Ralph Chittums. And as well, ladies and gentlemen, at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Shannon Wright will be joining us. She'll take center stage. We're going to release the Kraken in just a little bit, but I do want to encourage you to do something good for all mankind. That one thing that will separate you amongst men, and that is to listen to my very good friend, the Unpleasant Blind Guy. We'll be right back in the second half, right after this.
Stand by for action.
Thanks for joining me. My name is Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. One of the things I've always tried to do with the Unpleasant Blind Guy is to be real with the people who take the time to listen to my program. And I think that it's time I do that again, despite the fact that it could lose me some listeners. I've avoided directly endorsing a candidate for President of the United States until now. And before I do make my endorsement, I'll say that anyone nominated by the Republican Party is going to be infinitely preferable to anything put forward by the Democrats. With socialism and socialism light being the thrust of what they want to do, I cannot endorse an economic system that will eventually leave the people of the United States of America in a state of misery. Nor can I support candidates whose idea of social justice is pitting one group of Americans against another group of Americans just so that they and their cronies can maintain a little bit of power. Now that said, I am a conservative and proud of it because, as Kenneth McClinton, host of the exceptional conservative show, says, conservatism is the power of liberation. It's the power of liberation of the people. But in 2016, in the primaries, we have choices. American conservatives are looking for someone to carry forth that liberation of the people. Many supporters of the charismatic Donald Trump first viewed him with suspicion because, as has been pointed out so many times before, conservatives have been betrayed by the very people they've elected. Watching the rise of Mr. Trump's popularity, I couldn't help but be reminded of an old Twilight Zone episode called A Nice Place to Visit. The two principal characters are Mr. Valentine, who I equate with good, hard-working, well-meaning, intelligent Trump supporters who are looking for conservatism, and the guide, who I equate with Mr. Trump himself. Take a listen. The guide, as it were. Now, once Trump supporters began hearing his inspiring rhetoric on making America great again, it's very easy to understand why they have come out in such numbers to support him.
I can. Yeah. Thanks to you, Mr. Valentine. So that is if you approve. Yeah, I approve.
You see, guys, neither Trump nor any other politician, and let's be real here, he is a politician despite the fact that he's never held office. He's bought all the influence he's needed to, can have any power until the people approve of letting them have power. The people must consent to be led.
I must be dead.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm dead, then all of this it.
You see, in this story, people, Mr. Valentine gets the wrong impression. All around him, he sees everything that he thought he ever wanted. Just as people who support Donald Trump listen to his positive message, know that they are ready to be victorious on behalf of the people instead of losing, and so they follow their guide, Donald Trump.
And I must be in heaven.
Mr. Valentine believes that he is in one place, just as people who support Donald Trump feel that they found a home and a voice, and finally, the respect that they deserve. And so, Donald Trump gains support, and that support is extremely loyal because they see Mr. Trump as their only political hope.
That's it, I'm in heaven, right? And you're my guardian angel, something like that? Something like that, yes. Anything I want, Anything.
You see, Mr. Valentine has been promised in this newfound paradise of his that he can have anything he wants. Just as Trump supporters have been given the impression that for the first time in years, possibly decades, someone is finally going to listen to them and actually bring the United States of America back to the greatness it once had. The support is understandable. People, I am not going to bag on Trump supporters, but I do not support Donald Trump because every political and ideological sense that I have developed over close to 5 decades of observation and self-study tell me that while Mr. Trump says he's leading people in one direction, he's leading them in the other. I've said more than one time, when we as people devoted to the principles of personal liberty see something that we think can put it in danger, we have to speak up. When that happens, it's time to nut up or shut up. I'm going to endorse the candidacy of Senator Ted Cruz. Is he a politician? Yes, he is. But at least he's a politician that has made an effort to fight the worst of the others. Is he perfect? No. But right now, he's the best there is. And I know that's going to lose me some listeners. And all I can say to you is that I will be here, God willing, if you decide to come back. Because unlike Donald Trump, I am prepared to forgive and always have a place in my heart for those who have a place for the United States of America in their hearts. I'm asking you to support Senator Ted Cruz because I never again want to see the American people under the control of someone who promised to guide them one place and then led them to another.
Just somebody must have goofed. If I gotta stay here another day, I'm gonna go nuts. Look, I don't belong in heaven, see? I wanna go to the other place. Heaven? What am I going to do the idea you were in heaven, Mr. Valentine? This is the other place.
Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful, the great,
The best late-night conservative talk in America.
none other than my good friend,
There are no people
Dave Miller.
here to give you the best in conservative talk
Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on some immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best late night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio. The best late night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in the web was a large, I'm pretty sure it's the biggest spider I've ever seen.
There we go. Sackheads Radio Night tonight. SHR Media. We want to thank Rebooting Liberty, High Plains Media, and also SHR Media for carrying the exceptional conservative show live from the nation's capital. I want to read this to you before we go over. I know we're already into the second half of the show, but before we officially go there, I want to read this to you. This is Teddy Roosevelt speaking, because I really feel that conservatives don't need another meeting to tell them how the life in the world should be. I really believe that conservatives need to know that they're doing the right thing and going the right direction, and you are, my friend, you are. Teddy Roosevelt says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows, in the end, the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls, who neither know victory nor defeat." That's what it pays to be a citizen in a republic. Put your right hand over your heart. Let's pledge allegiance to the United States of America. Let's go! Gentlemen, we're about to release the Kraken, none other than the great Ralph Chittum's Senior, DCGOP Vice Chairman.
This service is provided by freeconferencecaller.com. There is one other participant in the conference. Please announce yourself.
None other than the great one himself, Ralph J. Chittum. Good day, Ralph. It's a great honor and privilege to have you on the air with us tonight.
How are you, sir?
Doing great. Listen, it's good to release the Kraken, and wow, what a night to do it. The day after Mayor Muriel Bowser's State of the State address.
I want to start off by letting all of your listeners know what a lousy friend you are, because you put out that we were going to discuss that speech without checking with me first. And I would rather go through a briar patch, butterball naked. Listen to that speech in its entirety.
You poor man! You poor man! How many standing ovations did you give, sir?
trying to keep them running to the restroom every 2 seconds.
It does cause diarrhea.
Oh, yeah. And that speech is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I actually, and I knew you wanted to discuss this. I put the break, sat down, and started playing it. And then I started hearing things that were so egregious and ridiculous, I actually started to take notes.
All right.
She started off at the beginning of the speech talking about that D.C. has a world-class school system. What D.C. is she talking about?
I think she was referring to the third world.
A world-class school system in D.C. They're led by people who aren't even qualified to be superintendent. That's why they have to downgrade the position of chancellor. And then she goes on, and then her this taking her math straight. She talks about the district has a $200 million budget gap. Then later in the speech, she said it's $250 million budget gap. That's a difference of $50 million. Well, I guess the Democrats, $50 million doesn't mean like that's just a tax increase. It was ridiculous. She propped up Black Lives Matter. She did everything she could to make sure that she's going to get another generation of Black Democrats beholden to the city government for their jobs by creating even more programs. That's what Democrats do. They create programs. They don't actually do anything that works. They just create more programs. She's going to start a brand new executive level person. She's going to have another deputy mayor. This is for economic opportunity. So now we're going to have another bureaucracy with more six-figure bureaucrats who aren't going to know what from a hole in the wall. It was absolutely ridiculous. I should have hated you for me.
Oh my God! Now, there was a reporting in the Washington Post that she did receive a standing ovation at one point during her state of the. First and foremost, the district is not a state. So for those who are running around saying state of the state address, we're not a state. It's the state of the district address. But she did speak about three choices that we have to make as a city. We can reject growth and accept our decline. We can grow without regard to our roots and risk losing what makes DC great. Or number three, or we can take a third way to balance change with preservation and with growth and do it together across all 8 wards. Is this socialism? What is this?
It's crazy. Okay, let's go back to one thing. Let's go back to her signature thing, which is to reduce homelessness in the District of Columbia by giving out sweetheart deals to developers and contractors who have contributed to her political campaign. And these people are going to get paid at a minimum $4,500 a month to house a homeless family. And these are all developers who are directly tied to her by giving her contributions. Heck, it got to the point now where if you can't beat them, join them. Hey, Muriel, call me. I'll rent you my house for $4,000.
You can have it for $10,000 a month. Oh my God!
But absolutely, she is taking the tax dollars out of district citizens and enriching her development money buddies so that they can continue to funnel money into her campaign. This is so egregious, and she claims that she has, her administration is one of integrity and transparency.
Well, yeah. Hey, well, we can all see through the Pepco Exelon merger, so that's transparency. You gotta give it to.
What about that pack that was finally forced to close because even the corrupt Democrats in the town are like, come on now, you really can't do that. That's really bad. We need to pull out with that. Come on now, be real.
Now you,
if you were writing a fiction, you couldn't come up with captions this stupid.
No, you couldn't. Now also, she has been committed to public safety. And you know we've been writing against this administration and the city council for its poor advance into public safety. These are some of the things that she's recognizing right now. 10 years of nationally recognized Chief of Police Kathy Lanier. The Rosenbaum Task Force established a framework for EMS reform. I think that's the same reform that required the deputy director to fire off a huge letter about the incompetency. Crime rates are heading in the right direction. Exactly which direction? Who knows? Fire Chief Gregory Dean lured from Seattle. $500,000 for security camera rebates to keep you safe. Every criminal wants to take a photo blast before he leaves your house. Working toward 4,000 police, a force that looks like the community they serve, meaning that only black people need apply. Community grants and strong neighborhood partnerships and an unwavering commitment to those we serve. Satisfied, sir? Aren't we safer?
I feel safe already. Unfortunately, what American politics has devolved into is sound bites and hollow cliches. Muriel Biden has her cliche, her hope and change statement, which means absolutely nothing, is pathway to the middle class. What does that mean? What does that statement mean? Pathway to the middle class. That's a phrase that means absolutely positively nothing. And every person that hears it gets to interpret it so it has a meaning to themselves. But she says it, she gets to break her elbow, patting herself on the back, and then gets behind closed doors with the sycophants and busts out laughing because she got away with it again. They're talking about coming up with this thing called the Elite Academy.
Yep.
Which is to train DC residents to work in the district government. I'm sorry. I want my children to have higher goals than to work in the damn district government. That is not a goal to aspire to. The district government is a fallback.
Wow! So what do you really think?
If you really want to know how bad it is to work for the district government, let's segue into another conversation. Let's discuss this idiot, James Edward Kyle.
Woo!
He was hired as the chief executive of St. Elizabeth's Hospital. He attended what is known as Charisma University. It is a school in the British West Indies that is not even accredited in the United States and couldn't even get accredited in the Philippines, in the country in which it was founded. And yet, Muriel Bowser hired this guy at $170,000 to oversee St. Elizabeth's Hospital. You want to know what the problem is in D.C.? A Democrat can get hired with a bogus degree from a nonsense university, and a common-sense educated Republican in this town with 2 master's degrees from an accredited institution can't even get an interview. That's why the district government is called garbage.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking tonight with D.C. Vice Chairman of the GOP, Ralph Chittum Sr., who we have released the Kraken. He's not holding back anything. He's absolutely right. James Edward Collins, 50 years old, he took over as Chief Executive of St. Elizabeth Hospital in Southeast Washington on March the 2nd. But he was found unqualified for a job at the University of the District of Columbia after regulators discovered he lacked the proper credentials, according to records kept by the district's board of nursing. We're getting that from the Washington Post. So when the Post says that you are unqualified after serving as chief executive of a hospital on an Indian reservation where emergency services were halted, you gotta figure that maybe, just maybe, he's not the right pick. What is the Bowser administration saying about this pick?
And of course, they're circling the wagons. He's the best thing since sliced bread. So you have a guy that has a bogus degree from a diploma mill, making $170,000, who is supremely unqualified to do anything, but because he belongs to a particular affinity group, of course, Muriel is going to hire him.
Wow. Now, the Department of Health is saying that he was picked because of his varied background. Does that mean that his high school and his elementary school don't exist either?
What that means is that when he was a kindergarten, he really did a good job playing inside the line.
Guaranteed! Guaranteed! Oh my God! So we have a city that's $250 million in the red. She's getting ready to produce her 2017 budget bill. It's going to be focused on public safety, but really the public safety is focused on social services and not actually policing and other things of that particular nature.
No, of course not. She's going to, I took notes. She put $100 million into the Housing Production Trust Fund. She's going to invest money in hospitals, into the Metropolitan Branch Trail, and open spaces. She's going to give another $32 million to schools. My question is, you're already $250 million in the hole. Where's the money going to come from? I'll tell you where the money's going to come from. Democrats never do anything except increase taxes. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Democrats don't increase taxes. They call them fees.
Yeah. Here comes. The pipeline's coming. Want to ask you one other thing from the speech. Now, you know that we've been working as the Open Heart Closed Case campaign on the Relisha Run Act, and we finally got that prepared by Professor Charlotte Brookins Hudson at the University of District of Columbia's David A. Clark Law School, and we have sent that up to the City Council for consideration at this particular juncture. Your thoughts on the closing of D.C. General? What should happen to D.C. General, and what will happen with D.C. General?
Well, the D.C. General shelter is without a doubt a hellhole.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. Now, I know people who provide services to clients inside of D.C. General, and I've been told stories, and I've seen pictures, so I know how bad the situation is inside of D.C. General. But you don't cut sweetheart deals with developers behind closed doors without the communities that are going to be impacted being involved at the ground level so that the people in the communities can have buy-in to what's going on. This is just another hand-handed effort by district government officials to ram something down the throat of district residents while at the same time paying off their connected cronies.
Wow. Absolutely wow. I want to ask you also, because that scenario is coming up again with Vincent Gray, who is running against Yvette Alexander in Ward 7 of the District of Columbia. He's making remarks of crony capitalism, or at least crony governmentalism, where sweetheart deals are being made by this particular mayor. And maybe she is, maybe she isn't, but the actions speak very much more loudly than the words.
And we think a lot of noise to talk. And I just let that one drop right there in my way. There's a lot of medical stuff about cronyism and corruption. So granted, he wasn't indicted, but, that's, you know what you can see with two different things. I can't wait to visit and investigate into it. It's almost going to be as much fun as watching Bill Clinton see that Barack Obama was a disaster for the last 8 years. That was hysterical.
Oh my God! We're going to clean up over the past 8 years. Wow, that was amazing.
So, and watching Vincent and bang on each other's heads is just as much fun. I'm going to tell you to come with the floor. I have to go out and get some tea.
We're talking tonight with the great Ralph Chenhams Sr. He is the DC GOP Vice Chairman. I want to ask you about the Douglas Leadership Institute over the weekend. Tell us all about that and your role in that.
Well, the Douglas Leadership Institute is a 501c3 organization that's working to equip, educate, and empower faith-based leaders to embrace and apply biblical principles to life and in the marketplace. So it's a 501c3 that's working with pastors and faith-based organizations and institutions to help them navigate what has become, a minefield for us in applying biblical principles to life and the marketplace. And this past weekend, I was with the leadership of DLI, Douglas Leadership Institute, and we were down in Hampton, Virginia. We had a conference, a morning conference for a group of pastors, and then we had a late afternoon conference for the general population, just to share information to let them know that your faith exists outside of Sunday between 11 and 2. You have a right to exercise your faith, to live your faith, and to speak your faith 7 days a week, 52 weeks a year. And no one has the right to step to you and to tell you that you do not have a right to religious liberty as guaranteed by the First Amendment to the United States Constitution.
You're absolutely right. I really enjoyed myself down there with Dean Nelson and so many of the others who were present, so many great pastors down there. Is that only going to be done just in that region? Is there a plan for the Leadership Institute?
The Leadership Institute is planning multiple events. There are going to be at least 70 events around the country similar to the one that we held this past weekend on the campus of Hampton University, where we'll be engaging the faith community in an early morning breakfast and then having a conference later in the day for anyone in that local area to come and attend. These are free of charge. So, we'll get the word out to people, we'll be advertising it, and when we come to a town near you, please come out and attend. The information that we will share will truly be empowering to help us push back against the forces of darkness.
Is there a website that people can go to support Douglas Leadership Institute?
Yes, dlinstitute.org.
Perfect.
So that is DL, the Institute altogether.org.
Awesome. Looking forward to the future events.
Also, we are looking for partners to work with us, to build a network so that we can, share the news that we can have a right to speak our faith in the public square. And for those who are arguing this separation of church and state, that was never intended to silence the faith community in arguments of public policy.
I want to ask you this question, and I'll probably ask it of Shannon when she takes center stage in just a few moments, but Chicago Teachers Union has decided overwhelmingly in a vote to go on strike on April the 1st. I want to ask you, sir, is this the right time for teachers unions to strike for greater pay, greater benefits, when there are fewer results?
Well, my first question is, since they're going on strike on April Fool's Day, how many is going to make a difference?
Nobody would know the difference. Actually, it might be an improvement for the kids that day. They may actually learn something.
Honestly, for some of the kids, it probably will be better to get some of the reality teachers out of the classroom that the women spend way too much time protecting and not spending enough time protecting the good teachers who have been in the classrooms for years and teaching. That's exactly what happened here in the District of Columbia when then Mayor Adrian Finke brought in Michelle Lee to be transferred. She came into the District of Columbia and summarily dismissed most of the master teachers who had been in the system for 20 and 30 years, who knew what they were doing, who understood differential learning, who knew how to reach and teach these kids. Michelle Lee pushed them all out the door and brought in all of these 22-year-old youngsters who didn't know what from Shannon, who were only teaching for a few years to get their student loans together, and now they're gone. They have no pedagogy, they didn't know what they were doing in the classroom, have no class management skills, and our kids are the real soft. So these teachers that are going on strike, peace be with you, clean running.
Peace. Listen, how can people connect with you? Because you have been a powerful influence in the political marketplace. A lot of people talk about the GOP and how they're reaching out to the community. You and Shannon are doing a heroic work in changing the conservative narrative and meeting people here in the major cities, Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. How can people get in contact with you and support your endeavors?
Yeah, I'm on social media. You can contact me on RJ Chittins, RJCHITTANS, Facebook and Twitter. You can also reach out to me on send me an email at ralph.chittins@dcgop.com. And I want tonight, I'm also creating a brand. I am the Party of Lincoln. And I'm on Twitter and Facebook under that brand. I am the Party of Lincoln. And then it's time for true conservatives to take this party back from the fake Republicans, the New York Times, and everybody else that has no business in the Party of Lincoln.
Well, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Is that all together? I am the Party of Lincoln? Is that all together?
All together. Join together.
All right. So I will put that up in the chat room for people to garner. And in finality, is there anything cooking in D.C. with the Republican Party?
It's just cooking in nothing we're talking about the gun people.
Wow.
We just had our conference. You saw what the fiasco that turned out to be. I think it's really interesting is that Marco Rubio won the D.C. caucus, and most of the delegates going to Cleveland ran on the Rubio slate, and now 10 of them have to be committed to Donald Trump, and the other 9 are going to be committed to Ted Cruz. Those folks are hopping mad right now.
Listen, they get what they get for voting for Kasich. That's all I got to say.
You're right. They get what they get. Absolutely. It's insensitive. Kasich needs to drop out right now, period. He has no mathematical chance of getting the delegates. And I was reading an article, and I'm going to have to double check this, so I'm going to say it, but it might not be completely accurate. But I was also reading an article that said, as of last night, Cruz is now in a position where he no longer will be able to get to the number of requisite delegates to win on the first ballot. So as it stands now, the only person running who has a chance of getting over that 1237 threshold is Donald Trump. And everybody else who's in the race right now is basically running to send the convention into contested status.
Wow. So, I was speaking with a friend of mine, Denise, regarding legislative work, in the District of Columbia, and she said, I want to skip the Democrat Party convention in Philadelphia, and she's a Democrat. I want to skip that, and I really want to go to Cleveland. I want to be in the. I want to see what's happening. You all got such an exciting group of people who are running. I thought that was wild.
Yeah, that's another word for it. I didn't see the other phrase that I can't say it.
Can't say it here.
What you say is, it's a two-word phrase, and the first word is cluster.
Dude, thank you. You're awesome, man. Really love having you on. This is the great Ralph Chittum Sr. He is a DC GOP vice chairman, and he certainly is a true conservative. I am so glad to have him on the air with me nightly, every Wednesday night at 10 p.m. We have Release the Kraken. We got to put him back in. But you are awesome. God bless you, man. Are you, wait a minute, are you going to be on Friday?
No, I'll be on News 1 on Wednesday. Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 7 Martin. Wednesday of next week.
Cool. So we'll talk with you then. God bless you, man. Thank you. That is Ralph Chittums. I am Lincoln. You need to join. You need to make it a part of your Facebook experience. And what better Facebook experience to have than one with Ralph Chittums, the party of Lincoln. When we come back, Shannon Wright takes center stage, and we will be talking with her about some of the big issues in the great city, Charm City. And one of them has to do with the issue of alcohol. Yes, the issue of alcohol. There is a big fight. There is a huge fight in Baltimore over who has the right and who has the privilege. And we want to make certain that you understand that Shannon Wright, if she's elected city council president, will be right smack dab in it next year. We'll be right back with more of the finest, most influential urban conservative talk in America. Scratch that. In the world. And we want to also thank Elect Wardlow for being with us tonight. God bless you, sir. It's a great pleasure. And, sir, I hope I Facebooked the right person. And hopefully you'll Facebook me back. But we really appreciate you tuning in tonight and listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show along with many others around the world. We'll be right back. I swear.
It's gonna be a right swipe. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. You still mind. Right swipe.
Right swipe. That sounds like his sister. It does. I don't know if she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. Oh my God, I want to eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh.
That's a lollipop. That is not a lollipop. That's right.
That's right.
Let's like that. Why you gotta swipe it next? Yeah. You gotta swipe it next. Let's like that. Why you gotta swipe it next? This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta let's like that. Look at you, with your shirt off, flexing. You're buffed, but you cut hashtags of flexing. Yeah, you worked out, you're in shape, okay. I like the six-pack abs, not the six-packs a day. I came across a photo of it. Rain on body, no pretty face, great waist, nice body. He's killing over look, one so back.
She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
Let's like that. Why you gotta swipe it next? Yeah. You gotta swipe it next. Let's like that. Why you gotta swipe it next? This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta let's like that. Mr. World Traveler,
Cigarette trips look expensive, sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Like the chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking you from tens to twos. And one thing's true about your whole crew, none of you cigarettes gonna be my boo.
Smoking with the tiger?
Just like that.
While you're on a hang glider?
Just like that.
Smoking and acting healthy.
Just like that.
Smoking all stealthy?
Just like that.
Smoking with a tuck face.
Just like that.
I don't just a trip race.
Just like that.
Smoking at the prom.
Just like that.
Even in a photo booth?
You don't care. Lips like that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Lips
left.
like that.
You gotta swipe it left. This is stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Lips like that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
Hashtag.
Yeah.
I'll never remember you. Do you believe the government can keep you safe? You can say it can, and you can even choose to act as if it can. But do you truly believe it? Do you believe speed limits, stoplights, and turn lanes shield you from road rage and drunk drivers? And as good as they are, and as hard as they try, do you believe police officers will be there when you need them the most? What's the cost to a country that thinks its rules can shield good people from bad things? Are we insulated from reality? So arrogant that we believe we can legislate evil out of bad people's hearts? The truth is, the government can't always protect us. Our safety is our job, because our lives are our job. And for the bad guys, that's bad news. We are the 5 million men and women of the National Rifle Association of America. And we believe the good guys deserve every chance to be safe. Join us today. Do you still believe in a golden rule? The U.S. feels surrounded by a world that doesn't seem to care about it at all. You've heard about wise guys on Wall Street who rigged the system to make sure that part-timers don't have a chance. The politicians who write laws they never follow themselves. And the spin doctors they hire to hide their true intentions from the people. Even in your own town and neighborhood, you've seen people turn their backs on each other. Close their hearts and hurt their conscience. When free people know the right choice but refuse to make it, we give up on each other, and we give up on our freedom, too. That's what makes good guys so special. They will never give up. We are the 5 million men and women of the National Rifle Association of America, and we still believe in the golden rule. Join us today.
Do you still believe in the good guys? Because you are surrounded by a world where madmen are famous and good ones forgotten. Doors are locked and streets have gone silent. Where the gates to success swing open for hypocrites, chameleons, bullies, and yes men.
Where filthy crimes go unpunished, and killers and con artists prey upon anyone who still follows the rules.
The good guys are alive and laugh. Everyone's corrupted.
What do you believe?
Do you believe in people who would rather fail honestly than lie to get ahead?
Do you believe in those who reach out to help, even while they're free to turn their backs? The teacher whose best lesson makes a one-time cheater a last-time cheater.
The parents who work 2 jobs, raise 3 kids, sit in school boards, town halls, and church pews because you can't teach values you don't live yourself. The soldier who gives up his life for his brothers to live theirs. It takes courage to be free, a special kind of backbone to reject the world that surrounds you, to sign your name where everyone can see it.
To believe that there's always a right choice and an honest consequence.
That's what it means to believe in America. It's time to believe in the good guys again. We are the 5 million men and women of the National Rifle Association of America. Join us. Join us.
Join us today.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to believe in the good guys. It's time to believe in you. I say that without fear or without need of aggrandizement. Ladies and gentlemen, you are the first responder. You are the first defense. You, my friend, are the one who holds the power over those who claim to hold power. You are the one, the e pluribus unum, the solution, the reality. Only you can keep this country free. Remember that from this day forth. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us tonight the beautiful, the vivacious, the eye-catching, the splendid, none other than the great one herself, Shannon Wright, as she takes center stage. Good evening, Miss Wright.
Good evening, and how are you?
I'm excited. I'm tickled pink over all the things that are happening in my life, all the things God's connected me to and is being grown and successful. I am more blessed than I deserve. I can say that.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing, I guess.
See, you gotta be careful when you walk up on somebody and ask, how you doing? Because they'll sit there for 3 hours and tell you.
That's true. And then you just look at them and be like, I'm sorry.
I didn't know.
And then if it's a bad day, you might say, wait, no, I'm sorry. I was really just being polite.
Ladies and gentlemen, Miss Shannon Wright, who is running for City Council President for the great city, Charm City, Baltimore, and Baltimore, Maryland. Apparently, the Hogan appointees are up in row. They are a little angry, and it's over alcohol. Not that Baltimore needs any more than it has, but what's going on in Baltimore regarding the Alcohol and Liquor Board?
Well, there's a couple things. There's a bill that's unfortunately chugging along that will take the control of the appointees from the governor and return it to City Hall. If the governor's appointees are not being favorable by some of the legislators. Now, obviously, that is, we don't executive us and say we'll take it if you don't, we're just going to put it down if you take it away from you anyway. And that's pretty much what they're doing. It's a billing move.
So is this is it the power of the locality that should reign when it comes to alcohol and liquor, or is it the actual state that should have command of what Baltimore does with its liquor?
Here's the thing. I think that's the thing. We would want to have less government intervention and more local control over your issues.
Yes.
But come with the children, and we put them in timeout on punishment because they show that their activities and behaviors are not responsible, you take away certain privileges. And I have to say that the lawmakers and the leadership that has been in Baltimore for the last 57 of those years has proven that it cannot be trusted to lead its way out of the red paper bag.
Wow.
So,
Now, is this just simply because of one term, a couple of terms where someone corrupted the process, or has this been a corrupted situation in Baltimore for a extended period of time?
well, people need to understand, this is Governor Hogan's first term. So all the issues with the liquor board and the liquor store and all that kind of thing were long before him.
Mm-hmm.
So, for him to now be here with a much more conservative approach and flip on everybody and you want to take that control away, back up. There was fire and brimstone and enthusiasm 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last month.
Now, my lady, who's right here? Is it the restaurants or is it the pubs? Who should have the privilege? Who should have the extra bonus points when it comes to liquor licensing and so on?
Listen, at this point, I don't feel qualified to answer that question, and I'll tell you why. As a candidate, I am taking this year to raise as if I was a beauty contestant winner. And I'll tell you what that means. During that year when you win a pageant, that's your year to tout your platform and to have your name in front of the spotlight. So I'm using this campaign to bring spotlight to the many issues in Baltimore. Now, that being said, I'm doing something like the elected officials here. I don't think they ever do. April 7th, we're having a small business roundtable. For the purpose of answering that question that you just posed, and many others, because the folks at City Hall are making decisions based on who gives the biggest contribution, campaign contribution check, and yes, I'm saying it out loud, instead of what is in the best interest of the businesses in the community, and knowing that stimulating those small to medium-sized businesses will jumpstart this city's economic engine. But instead of that, they rely on other things and other criteria. So, to set ourselves apart from no other folks, we are having a small business roundtable in Fells Point at a very location that you described. We are going to be at Max's, which is a tap house of some significant renown, for the very purpose of answering that question and several others that really directly relate to the business community.
Wow. See, the stuff that you do in Baltimore is timely. And I really think with all of my heart and all of my soul, the way the Lord's leading you, that you really need to be recognized by the GOP. I feel that you have a responsibility. And bear with me, I like to put more on your plate than you deserve to eat. But it also says, it's nice that you're running for city council president, and you probably will win, because that's the way God has blessed and shown favor to you. But it's not good enough to win and then have a very broken, poor, unenthusiastic Republican Party in the city. You know what I'm saying? There's got to be a rah-rah group behind you. So are you going to fix that?
Oh, you were just trying to find buses to throw me up under.
It's my job. I do it well.
Yes, you do. You really do. It's really good. So, I think that plate that we spoke of, metaphorically, is rather full at the moment. I am pleased, though, that I have been nominated and now on the Baltimore City GOP Central Committee. I'm happy about that. And we're going to do some things. We're going to bring some life and some livelihood to the city through the Central Committee and through just energizing and invigorating the base. I asked some questions earlier. So, where's the Central Committee, subcommittee on economic development? Who chose that? Oh, okay, so we're now on the next month's agenda to create one. Okay.
Wow.
Because what needs to happen is in every major area of the city, there needs to be a Republican subcommittee that looks over those policies. Because the policies in this city have been one-sided for so long and have had one voice for so long, and has not been a voice of the residents of this city.
Now, I find it truly amazing that you chose economics rather than education or rather than a jobs program of some type. Don't you understand what you have to do to reach out to those on the other side? You have to give them a subsidy or a handout, a government program. See, why don't you have something called a government strategy group within? Something that work on creating more government programs, a recreation center, because we like to play basketball.
Well, he was, some beans. I'm not even going to because I was about to say something, get myself in trouble. So I head on down the way to D.C.
We are talking with Miss Shannon Wright, who's running for the City Council presidency in the great city of Baltimore, Maryland. And let's just be very factual here. Last weekend, while I and my wife chose to meet up with Glorithia Flo, Glow Smith, and have a good time eating some very good food. Great cuisine at Hampton University. I mean, wow, the food was great. The company lively. What did you choose to do last week?
What are you doing with that? I chose to be in Baltimore in a snowstorm in March campaigning. That's right.
But it was where you were campaigning. Where were you campaigning last weekend? Because I think that's of great note and a great aspiration as well.
Well, last weekend, amongst the numerous events, was the NAACP Candidates Day, which all candidates on the ballot for the primary were included. So, unfortunately, the turnout was not awesome. That's, I'm going to say, mostly due to the fact that the weather, unfortunately, was also not awesome. But that was my reasoning for staying in Baltimore, that along with several other events.
Exactly. Well, it's funny that the NAACP is reaching out to you because you also got posterized this week for an event that you all hosted, or at least the Republicans hosted, for a forum for you. Can you tell us all about that particular forum and why they considered you one of the top 2 candidates in all of Baltimore?
Well, it was, let's see, it was an event that was hosted by the Maryland Black Republican Caucus.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a colloquy, which is a discussion. And it was for the Black Republican candidates specific to translating policy and addressing the issues in urban America.
Awesome.
And you know, it's an interesting concept of being a Black Republican in an inner city, because folks, you have to work a tightrope that most folks wouldn't expect and understand. You have to understand the party's policies and platforms, especially, you know, when you honestly believe, as I do, that they are the best course of action for your city. Yet you have to translate that to a Democrat majority.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a special kind of thing there.
Yeah, it is. It is. And a lot of people really can't appreciate exactly the power and the symbolism of your race. And I'm not talking about the color of your skin. I'm talking about the fact that you are running to be the city council president. Your greatest responsibility is really to educate those who happen to sit on the other side of the aisle, the 98%ers, versus the 2%ers which you represent, who sit on the opposite side of the aisle, who believe that if they just move the chairs around and try the same strategy, they'll get different results. And
exactly.
You're going to have to prove so much more to them. Go ahead.
Well, I think that part of the problem is the crumbling infrastructure here in the city of Baltimore and the water issues. Too many people have gotten too much water exposure because of stuff that they say, and really is quite ludicrous. So, my job is really to inform, translate, and educate folks as to the types of policies and things that can actually work to benefit the city. The problem is that when folks in this administration, the one before that, maybe even the 2 or 3 before that, when they look at things to benefit the city, They look at Baltimore as if it's an abstract object that you can just take from and use and take and get what you want. When the reality is, Baltimore is a city. It's made up of living, breathing people. And when you show into those people, not enable those people, but when you show into the people, the city will prosper as the people prosper.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to be the paradigm of thought.
You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Listen, how can people support your campaign? And prayer is important. You know, both of us are godly people. Prayer is important. But
very important.
Yeah.
But equally important in campaign season is contributions. So let me be clear about that. You can find me at Wright, WIGHT for Maryland.com and Wright for Maryland on Facebook, Wright for Maryland at Gmail. And if you go to the website, there's one of those cute little icons of the city logo, and if you push it, it takes you to a page where you can donate to the campaign. I had an awesome meeting this afternoon with a young man that's coming on board to do some strategy, and we realized that our goal for the primary, to get through this primary, is $10,000. So that's a lot of money for one individual, but if there are like-minded folks that just want the time, want to tip in, to lift all slip, this race can be won.
yeah. Mathematically, the way we're looking at it, you can't really. And $10,000 is not a lot of money. That's what Jeb Bush spent at one of his breakfasts. You know what I'm saying? So, ladies and gentlemen, please get in there, support her now. Support her now. Don't wait to be one of those people who want to jump on the bandwagon. Build the bandwagon and push her along the way so that others may be able to jump in. Shannon, we love you. We look forward to you coming back next Wednesday night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You keep up all that good stuff that you were doing.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you all so much for tuning in. You all know that this is Sackheads Radio Night, SHR Media. You know that you can go to SHR Media and let me bring that up so that I can honestly say that I directed people to shrmedia.com. That I did my job. And once there, you can listen to tonight's programming with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead Clint. They will be at Freedom Fest. I'm encouraging everyone to go to Freedom Fest Vegas, maybe July 13th through 16th. We'll promote that a little bit later on tomorrow night's show. But without saying another word except these particular words that a friend once told me, can always remember to be brave so that you'll never die a coward. Professor, today and every day, I promise you I always will. Remember, God blessed America. Now it's time for America to bless God. We'll see you tomorrow night. The Underground Professor will join me, Dr. Michael Jones. Head on over to shrmedia.com. Good night and God bless from Washington, D.C. We'll see you tomorrow night.